Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I would like to share the books that I bought from the Whitby bookshop when I was away on holiday last week. Whenever I go to Whitby, I always end up going to the Whitby bookshop. Last year I bought a lot of books and some of the books ended up being favourites, some of them I didn't care for so much. So this year I was a bit more strict when it came to buying things. Also, knowing that I've got to buy a car dampened down my want and need to purchase books. One of the first things that I bought whilst at the Whitby bookshop wasn't a book, but it was a diary. It was this one with a small Jack Russell on, which is by Sarah Campbell Designs, and it's for next year. And the reason behind this was 10 years ago, when I was in Whitby, I found a diary of this size. Exactly the same sort of thing going on inside. Basically, I like this size for a diary and I've not been able to find one since. So when I saw it, that was it. It went straight into my bag. Well, I didn't have a bag, but it went straight in my hand. I held it until I got to the counter. The only thing was, things have definitely changed. This cost me £6. I can tell you now it didn't cost me £6 11 years ago. And I mention that because I bought this Angela Harding bookmark, which I was quite fond of. Again, I've got this thing with hairs at the moment. I got a signed edition of Rare Singles by Benjamin Myers, and I got The Great When by Alan Moore, and that all came to £50. I tell you now, I was considering prostitution after that. Benjamin Myers is an author I keep talking about because when I went to a book club at Holmes Chapel once to advertise one of my books, they go around and they talk about what books they've been enjoying, and all of the ladies there had been sharing The Offing by this author, and one of the women there got very upset because she'd gone to the gallows pole afterwards, which was Benjamin Myers' first book, because similar to what I've been doing with authors recently, once she's read a book by an author she enjoys, she wants to go back from the beginning of their career and read everything. Unfortunately, in the gallows pole, she says she found the C word on the first page. Oh, there's my receipt. I didn't know that was in there. I didn't need the reminder of that. I knew that I wanted to buy this book simply because it seemed to appeal to my sensibilities. And being me, I am going to read you the blurb. Dinah is a Scarborough lifer. Trapped with her feckless husband and useless son, her one release comes at her town's Northern Soul Nights, where she gets to lose herself in the classics. Over in Chicago, Erlon Bucky Bronco is down on his luck, and has been since the loss of his beloved wife. The best he can hope for is to make ends meet and try and stay high. But then an invitation arrives, to come to somewhere he's never heard of. With nothing to lose and in need of the cash, Bucky boards a plane. And so Bucky finds himself in rainy Scarborough, where everyone seems to know who he is, preparing to play for an audience for the first time in nearly half a century. To make matters even more complicated, he's left his stash on the plane and is battling the come-down of his life. Over the course of a weekend, Bucky and Dinah will strike up an unexpected friendship that forces them both to confront the past and its losses for the very first time. The loneliness and grief, addiction and desperation that have kept them from truly living. Wise, hilarious and profound, Rare Singles is an unforgettable story about the power of connection and the ways that music and friendship can bring us back to ourselves. This also has sprayed edges with seagulls on, and the seagulls were very much annoying me when I was in Whitby, but, you know, Whitby, Scarborough, they're almost synonymous with one another, and although I don't think they'd like you to say that. And I've been looking to read some Benjamin Myers, and I think that this and The Offing have both done this thing of having this story about friendship. And I got this simply because it mentioned Alan Moore. I think it says it's the first in a series. While I haven't read any Alan Moore before or his comics or anything like that, I did like the blurb. So here we go again. The year is 1949, the city London. Amidst the smog of the capital is Dennis Knuckleyard, a hapless 18-year-old employed by a second-hand bookshop. One day, on an errand to acquire books for sale, Dennis discovers a novel that simply does not exist. It is a fictitious book, a figment from another novel, yet it is physically there in his hands. How? Dennis has stumbled on a book from The Great When, a magical version of London beyond time and space, where reality blurs with fiction and concepts such as crime and poetry are incarnated as wondrous, terrible beings. But this other magical London must remain a secret. If Dennis cannot find a way to return this book to where it belongs, he risks bizarre and disastrous repercussions, such as his body being turned inside out, or worse. So begins a journey delving deep into the city's occult underbelly and tarrying with an eccentric cast of sorcerers, gangsters and murderers, some from legend, some all too real, and all with plans of their own. Soon Dennis finds himself at the centre of an explosive series of events that may alter and endanger both Londons forever. So I read that, heard it was the start of a new series, and thought if I really enjoyed reading the alternate London that Joanne Harris has created in the Moonlight Market, I might appreciate The Great When. There are quite a few alternative Londons, aren't there, out there? I think it provides people with a lot of inspiration. As somebody who's never been to London, I know that when I eventually go, I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed because it's not going to have all of the magic that I've ever read about. All these secret, hidden, mystical societies are not going to be there. But this was another one that I actually was kind of going to throw out a few books on my TBRs for the end of the year to try and read this. So that was that. I thought, that's it. That's enough books to be buying for me from this week because I've spent me quota. Well, I went back on the Friday and I saw that the diary had bought, I got a matching bookmarks. Like, wow, I've got to get that. Because the diary, well, it runs out after a year. But then I went back to their Dracula section and I've been reading Anno Dracula. So to find out they've got the Bloody Red Baron, even though it doesn't match my edition, because my edition's hardcover, I don't know that they did the rest of the books in hardcover. But what I've liked about these reissues is that they've also been including extra material. So Anno Dracula has a extra short story at the back, and the Bloody Red Baron has a novella at the end, which is just entitled Vampire Romance. But here, it is set during the Second World War. We're meeting characters that we saw in the first book go head to head with Dracula. So I'm guessing that Dracula is going to continue to survive through all the books, is he? Well, we'll find out. And then I put this book back on the Tuesday, but I kept thinking about it, so I had to go and get it. And that was A Spring of Love by Celia Dale. And this matches my edition that I got last year of Sheep's Clothing. Celia Dale is proving for me that she writes a different type of crime fiction than I'm used to. She writes crime fiction where the criminals are the focus of the book. And you've got to follow them despite the fact that you know that they are sadistic, horrible characters. But there tends to be a character that you can sympathise with. In Sheep's Clothing, you sympathise with the young woman. In A Helping Hand, you sympathise with the older woman who's being trapped by these two criminals who are looking to steal all of her money. And then something else she does towards the end is it tends to be a twist. At least I found that from reading two of her books. Yeah, so basically here we have Esther, who is getting on a bit, apparently. You know, she's 30, which is younger than me, but apparently that's getting on a bit. I mean, I understand, but whatever. And then she meets this man called Raymond. And he kind of showers her in love and all that fun stuff. He really gets under her skin and all that, and she thinks he's a great man. Well, it turns out he's not such a nice fella. He starts controlling her. Seems there's a bit of coercive control going on. And then it just says that it's an unsettling portrait of love in all its guises. Oof. Well, we're going to see. I imagine that it's going to be quite dark. And, you know, they say a picture tells 1,000 words, don't they, or something like that. Well, have you noticed he chopped the husband's head off? That's it, them's the books. I only bought 4 books while in Whitby this year. Can you believe it? 4. I tell you, the first time I went to Whitby, I only went with my rucksack and 2 books. And I went into the bookshop there and I came away with Edgar Allan Poe's Complete Stories, Dracula, and then a whole host of other books. Some of which I've kept and read and have become favourites, some of which I couldn't even remember. And I just keep doing that. It wasn't even just the bookshop there. Like now, because a few of the charity shops don't let dogs in, I can't go in and peruse them, so I don't come away with anything from there. I did go into one charity shop when we first got there, but that didn't have any books I wanted. We did go across the road to Mind, and there weren't any in there. I just remembered I didn't go back to Mind. I meant to go back there because there were some Christmas cards I liked. But it's fine because we have one of those charity shops around here. Anyway, that's me. Them's the books. If you've read any of these books and would like to discuss them, then please feel free to do so in the comments. Also, if you think that I should prioritise one of these books over others, then let me know that as well. I hope that you have enjoyed this video because, until next time, that is all.